Jen Psaki reacted to Trump's defeat after the Supreme Court struck down his tariff scheme. When the United States Supreme Court, with a conservative majority, largely appointed by Trump himself, turns around and says, no, you've gone too far. That isn't partisan politics. That is the system of checks and balances working exactly the way it was designed 250 years ago. And you know what's more revealing than the defeat itself? The reaction. Because it shows once and for all that this was never about the economy. It was never about protecting the American worker. It was about power. It was about control. And today we're going deep on that. Now let's hear what Jen Psaki has to say about all of this.
Every president has specific things they like to focus on. And I worked for two, I know this. Certain issues or beliefs or campaign slogans that they will go back to over and over again. But there's only one president that I know who has taken to such a liking to one particular word, a single noun from the English language, which he seems to prize above all else.
It's called tariffs. I said my favorite word in the whole dictionary is tariff. I said tariff is my favorite word in the whole dictionary. I said my favorite word of every word is tariff. I've loved it for 40 years. My favorite word in the English dictionary is the word tariff. One of my favorite words is the word tariff. My favorite word is the word tariff. My favorite word, tariffs. I said tariff. My favorite word is tariff.
It's like he's grunting it out. It's his favorite word. That's clear. Nobody loves tariffs, it seems, more than Donald Trump loves tariffs. It's why, against all reason, Trump blanketed the world with steep tariffs, arbitrarily and chaotically driving up prices for millions of American consumers. And it's why today, when an aide walked into a meeting between Trump and a bunch of governors and handed him a note saying that the Supreme Court had struck down the vast majority of his tariffs, Trump went ballistic. I mean, immediately after that meeting, Trump held a hastily assembled press conference to mourn his precious tariffs. I mean, again, it's like the lighting in there is a funeral of sorts. I've never seen it lit like that. Over the course of 45 minutes, the American people got to watch him experience basically all 5 stages of grief live on television. I mean, there was stage 1, denial.
I have the right to do tariffs, and I've always had the right to do tariffs. The Supreme Court's decision today made a president's ability to both regulate trade and impose tariffs more powerful. I don't think the court meant that. I don't think the court meant it. I don't think they meant that. I'm sure they didn't.
They didn't mean it. Lots of denial. Now, of course, there was also stage 2, anger.
They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats.
There was stage 3, the form of bargaining.
I want to be very well behaved because I understand the court. I understand how they're very easily swayed. I want to be a good boy.
I want to be a good boy. Okay. There was stage 4, which is depression.
The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed.
And then eventually there was stage 5, some form of acceptance.
It's ridiculous, but it's okay because we have other ways, numerous other ways. Now I'm going to go in a different direction, probably the direction that I should have gone the first time. Now I'll go the way I could have gone originally.
And because it was Donald Trump, there was, of course, also a 6th stage of grief, saying whatever absolutely unhinged thing popped into his head at any given moment.
I can do anything I want to do to them, but I can't charge any money. So I'm allowed to destroy the country, but I can't charge them a little fee. And I don't like them. I think they're real slime balls. I read the paragraphs. I read very well. Great comprehension. For 30 years longer, they made chip, chip, chip. He said, sir, I want to kiss you so badly. This is a very powerful man. I don't want to be kissed by that man.
So that was all. That was on one press conference today, everyone. I mean, it's very clear Donald Trump is going through some things right now. It's the only way to explain it. He desperately, obviously, did not want to give up his tariffs, and there's a reason for that. For the past 40 years, long before he ever ran for president, Donald Trump has been obsessed with the idea of levying tariffs on other countries, talking about it in interview after interview. And it has never been based on any sort of economic theory. It's always been about one thing, and one thing only: power. Because Trump believes tariffs give him power over other countries. He doesn't care if that power comes at the expense of regular Americans who end up paying the tariffs. He's okay with that pain as long as it gives him power over other world leaders. As long as he gets to feel big and tough and powerful. Just listen to the way he talked about using tariffs against the nation of Switzerland.
You know, I had an incident with a very nice country, Switzerland. So I put on a 30% tariff, which is very low. Still, we were having a big deficit, but it was half the deficit. And I got an emergency call from, I believe, the Prime Minister of Switzerland, and she was very aggressive, but nice, but very aggressive. Sir, we are a small country. We can't do this. We can't do this. I couldn't get her off the phone. We are a small country. I said, you may be a small country, but we have a $42 billion deficit with you. No, we are a small country. Again and again and again. I couldn't get her off the phone. So it was at 30%. And I didn't really like the way she talked to us. And so instead of giving her a reduction, I raised it to 39%.
Okay.
What this Supreme Court ruling exposes goes far beyond tariffs. It opens a window into understanding how authoritarianism operates in practice within a democracy, not with tanks in the streets, but with executive orders stacked one on top of the other, each one testing a little further how much the system can take. Trump spent 4 years in his first term finding the limits. He came back in his second already knowing where to push. And even so, the court said no. That matters. But here's the point almost nobody is talking about. The decision was not a unanimous split of progressives versus conservatives. When judges appointed by Republicans vote to limit the power of a Republican president, that sends a message no amount of spin can erase. It means the problem isn't ideological, it's structural. The tariffs, imposed the way they were imposed, represented a concentration of power in the executive that runs contrary to the most basic separation of powers in the American Constitution, and the judiciary, even this judiciary, which has disappointed us so many times in other battles, recognize that. So what does Trump do in response? He signs a new executive order 48 hours later, based on a different statute with a 150-day timeline. That isn't political resilience, folks. That is a refusal to accept limits. It is a pattern of behavior that should concern us deeply, because what he is doing is searching for loopholes, one by one, until he finds one that survives judicial scrutiny. It's a long game strategy of institutional erosion. And there's another detail that needs to be named. That 150-day deadline is not arbitrary. It falls strategically close to the midterm election cycle, meaning that even his compliance with the court was calculated to maximize political advantage. This isn't governance. It's a permanent campaign dressed up as public policy. What Psaki gets right, and gets exactly right, is that this moment cannot be read as a definitive victory, because every judicial defeat for Trump comes paired with an immediate attempt to work around the ruling. The real question isn't, did the system work this time? The question is, how long can the system keep operating in a state of constant emergency before it starts to crack? Democracies don't die from a single blow. They die from institutional exhaustion, from accumulated wear, from a population that eventually stops believing the institutions exist to serve them. That is why every decision like this one needs to be celebrated. Yes, but with eyes wide open. The Supreme Court held the line this time. Next time, that depends on us staying alert, staying demanding, staying loud. If this kind of analysis resonates with you, hit like, drop a comment with your take on the court's decision, and share it with someone who still thinks this is all just American politics. It isn't. It's the playbook for what can happen in any democracy that lets its guard down.